Jesus, the Rays 11-2. Jesus.
The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Sunday, May the 28th. It's Game 7 Eve, we can say, here on the NBA Gambling Podcast. Here to discuss Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. And joining me to help me break it down, we'll recap Game 6 as well and dive into Game 7. But helping me to break it down, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, WNBA Gambling Podcast, NFL Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, bud?
Nothing much. I picked the right winner in Game 6, but Boston didn't win by enough. I had the -3, and they unfortunately choked away a 9-point lead. But before the series, when we previewed the series, both on the NBA Gambling Podcast and the Mothership Show, I did have Celtics in 7. Not the way I drew it up, not the way I thought it would go, but I had the Heat winning Game 1 and Boston to win the series, and I had Boston to win in 7. And right now, it's where I thought we were going to be, Game 7 back in Boston. We're going to break it down pretty, I'd say, in depth for what happened in Game 6. One of the crazier final minute spans I've ever seen in a basketball game. Derrick White, right place, right time. Great play by him. Marcus Smart taking such a classic Marcus Smart shot. You also have the conspiracy going on with the clock and how they might have mysteriously added a couple extra seconds there, which mattered. But crazy game. I don't know how Miami even led with 1 second left because they were lost the entire game and somehow ended up finding a way to take a lead. But Boston ended up getting the job done, and here we are.
Yep, here we are, Game 7. We'll recap Game 6 here shortly, like Scott mentioned. But also joining us here to help us break it down, it's playoff Lante. Lante, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Yeah, man, doing good. Ready to get into it. I know we'll get into the game. It was a great game. Well, I guess great ending, per se. But yeah, man, looking forward to breaking it down and getting into this Game 7 also.
Yeah, so Game 6 was in Miami on Saturday night. The Boston Celtics were a 3-point road favorite. Celtics eke out the victory with a putback by Derrick White at the buzzer there to give the Celtics the 104-103 victory. Shouldn't have been that close, but we'll dive into what kind of transpired over the final 3 to 5 minutes there. But nonetheless, we are on to Game 7. To Game 6, like we mentioned, 104-103 victory. Or sorry, what was it? 104, 104-103 for the Boston Celtics. Game stays under. Boston gets the straight up victory, and the Heat do cover the +3 spread for Game 6. Scott, why don't you lead us off, man? Kind of getting into the fourth quarter, I guess we can say, where if I would have told you that Bam and Jimmy were combined, what was it, like
9 for 37?
Yeah, 9 for 30 something, that Boston would probably be up by, 15 points minimum at that point.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, they were up by 10 points, I think, with about a couple minutes left. And then Jimmy Butler just flipped a switch in that final couple minutes there where he was just absolutely atrocious in the first 3.5 quarters. But he got fouled, hit all 3 free throws, gave the Heat a 1-point lead. And then we saw what happened with the Marcus Smart fadeaway 3-point shot, like Scott mentioned. And Derrick White, just a heads up, high basketball IQ play, puts it back in for the victory. But Scott, takeaways from Game 6.
My main takeaway is Boston still can't close. The way that I look at it, and you mentioned the high IQ play, I've been pushing for Derrick White to play in crunch time for the last several months, and now we know why. Because he not only had the, I'd say, presence of mind to actually crash the glass for the board, but initially he actually went to the three-point line. So he was threatening several things. He was supposed to be the backup read if Tatum was going to get doubled, and if Smart maybe looked his way, he was open. He saw Smart was going to chuck it. Good guess. You're assuming Smart's going to chuck it whenever he gets the ball in the situation. And he immediately darted to the rim, and he ended up getting a putback layup there. I'm not going to blame Strus for it either. I know people are going to criticize Strus for losing track of his man. His role is also to try to help out on Tatum on any switches, so I felt like it was just a spot where Miami was going to force anybody but Tatum to beat them. They doubled Tatum. Smart got the ball. I think they were shocked that Smart went so quickly. He had 3 seconds left and just heaved it. And as a result, you had an extra guy going for a rebound. So Strus is going to get blamed a lot for what happened. In reality, though, your main goal in that situation, for the most part, make them miss one shot. If they miss one shot, you probably win the game. And unfortunately, they got a perfect rebound that bounced directly into the right spot to Derrick White. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. As for the actual game breakdown, the first thing I said is Boston can't close. Boston is 1 game away from the NBA Finals, and they might be the worst late-game execution team I've ever seen. And they are 1 game away from the NBA Finals. It actually does not make any sense how this team can be so bad at basic fundamental stuff in the final couple minutes of every game, and they're 1 game away from the NBA Finals. So, once again, Miami had them where they wanted, down 10. Because that's the only way they win games, when they trail by 10 points and they let Boston try to close it out. Miami went to a zone once again, and Boston had no clue what they were doing in the final couple minutes. They couldn't score. I thought the game was over when Smart had the and one, and they were up by roughly 9 or 10 with about 4:50 to go, give or take.
Yeah.
Butler couldn't hit a shot. Then he hit that big three-pointer. He started going to the line. I thought Boston really did a bad job of containing him. Butler was also kind of flopping into some contact because he knows he couldn't hit a shot. But then he hit a big three-pointer. Robinson had a couple of big shots to actually keep them in striking distance early in the fourth quarter. And then just a bunch of lazy plays by Boston, whether it involved bad offensive execution, missed jump shots. What'd they go, like 7 for 35 from 3? It was something disgusting. They couldn't hit a three-pointer. But they gave up an offensive rebound to Caleb Martin off a missed free throw, which led to a wide-open Duncan Robinson 3, which he totally bricked. But the point is, that's such an easy mistake to correct where you just have to box out. I know Martin had 15 rebounds. He was great in the game. But Boston does the bare minimum to win every game in the fourth quarter. And it's really just the story. It feels like Boston, once again, on paper, is the much more talented team. It's obvious. Butler and Adebayo could not hit a shot to save their lives. And Miami led by 1 point with less than a second to go. Boston just can't close. And I know people are going to roast Spoelstra, they're going to roast Butler, and they're going to praise Missoula and Boston for making the comeback. The truth is, I don't even know what I can really say for Spoelstra in terms of criticizing him. What's he supposed to do? You look at this talent. Like, do they have much? Butler and Bam no show a game, and they're up by 1 with a shot to go to the finals. I'm not going to blame Spoelstra for what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you take a look, if we're comparing it from on paper to paper, it's a night and day difference, the talent that the Boston Celtics have on their team. I mean, you talked about it, right?
It's a 2 seed versus an 8 seed.
It is. And, you know, for the Miami Heat, it's Jimmy Butler, who has been inconsistent, I guess we can say, at least in the Eastern Conference Finals. But their role players have stepped up. We talked about Caleb Martin at volumes, Gabe Vincent at volumes. You're still kind of waiting for that Max Strus game, but he hasn't really stepped up either. So, you know, like you mentioned, it is an 8 seed taking the number 2 seed to a 7 game or game 7. I think you got to give credit to the Boston Celtics for not laying down and giving up. And we're on to game 7. But there was there was a couple, we'll get into it in a second here as well. But there were some questionable calls, I think, that went against the Miami Heat. I think one was the defensive foul call on Duncan Robinson that they called when he was guarding Marcus Smart.
Well, the big call was the goaltending and one technical foul. I mean, that was the big play, not to mention the review. I don't think it was a double dribble on Butler. You can argue that maybe the foul came before the shot, which was a separate argument. But I don't know how the clock went from like 2.1 or 2.5 back to 3 seconds. I don't know
Yeah.
how that worked. I
Yeah.
thought it was 2.5 when I watched that live, and instead it
Right.
was 3. So
Yeah.
that was another controversy there involving the Celtics. But once again, just to go back to the Spoelstra and Missoula thing, I'm going to ask you, because I know Missoula kept the team together. They could have imploded. Apparently, Topgolf was the secret to getting the team back on track. I don't know if you heard the story or not. They
I
blew
did
off a
not.
film session down 3-0 to go play Topgolf, and that apparently helped bring the team back together in terms of chemistry. True story. I saw that on Twitter today. But anyway, point is, I'll ask you, because I said the same thing going into Game 6. Has Missoula made any adjustments, or is Boston just playing better? Because I can't really point to anything in particular that Missoula's done that was a night and day difference from the first 3 games of the series. It just seems like Miami's missing more shots, and Boston's making more shots, and Tatum's been extremely consistent the last 3 games.
Yeah, so games 3 and 4, they made their 3-point shots, or did the Boston Celtics. I think that was really what the difference was. Or sorry, games 4 and 5. And then game 6, we saw what happened yesterday. I think that's been the difference. But at least for me, he's actually calling the timeouts now. And he's not, saving them to, I don't know, take with him on a vacation. But
Spoelstra was the one who didn't call a timeout.
Yeah, and now Spoelstra was the one. So again, it's kind of been, I think the talent, like you've mentioned this over the past several games, Scott, that the talent is starting to wear on the Miami Heat here a little bit. But again, give him credit for fighting back last night. Before we do get Delonte's thoughts here, let me get the bills paid here and tell everyone about Edge Boost. Have you signed up for Edge Boost yet? If not, you're missing out. Edge Boost is world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Similar to buy now, pay later programs, Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest and pay back the advance over 4 equal weekly installments. That's right, 0% interest. Simply deposit funds into your account. Edge Boost will match the deposit so you can use 2 times the funds on any legal sports betting site. Edge currently offers up $2,500 in advances, up to $2,500 you can add to your bankroll. We'll get to our Edge Boost double down play of the day. So make sure to go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up today. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 20 years or older to use. Only valid in legal gambling states. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Delonte, give us your thoughts, man. Game 6, I think you were on Boston, if I'm not mistaken. But what were your thoughts on Game 6 now? We're heading into Game 7.
Yeah, I was. Fortunately, I played more on the money line than the actual spread. But yeah, I mean, I thought that Boston they're just so inconsistent down the stretch, and some of the things that they were doing offensively just wasn't working. The bad shots that Scott mentioned, they were exactly 7 of 35 from deep. That's their lowest percentage, and their made threes on the season. The lowest they made all year was 9. And Smart and White actually made all of those threes. Nobody else made a 3 other than those 2 guys. So
I know Smart was on fire from 3 to start the game, and
yeah.
the rest of Boston was like 1 for, I forgot what it was, like 12 to start the game from 3.
Yeah, so Smart made 4 and White made 3. Yeah, so nobody else made 1. I think Tatum was 0 for 8.
Mm-hmm.
Brown was 0 for 4. And before, I mean, to add on to your late game, before that White tipping in the last field goal was with about 5 minutes to go, if I'm not mistaken, for Boston. So, yeah, I mean, they seem like they got a little bit tight down the stretch. But then again, I mean, if you remember, Derrick White had hit a 3 to kind of shift the momentum back to their side. I thought they did a good job defensively, which is really what's won them in the last 3 games is defensively what they've been doing. A couple of things that I saw that Missoula did well, something small. He was posting up Smart more, using Smart as in the post as a facilitator, so he can get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to the rim more, so they can have more space. He's also putting Jason Tatum in the middle of the floor, so the doubles, he can actually see the doubles coming and get it out of his hands faster, which led to some of those smart threes. I think there's some small adjustments, and Munaf added about the timeout. So I thought he did a good job with the timeout calling. And yeah, I mean, Boston is just, they've been like this all year. It's hard to get a gauge on them. I thought defensively, where they made their hay, they did a great job on Butler. Specifically, Derrick White as the primary defender, he was 0 of 6. He held Jimmy to 0 for 6 and held other Miami players to 1 of 12 on contested shots. That was per ESPN. So I thought he did a good job. And they didn't turn the ball over. Well, they didn't get many points off turnovers. Miami had 11 points off turnovers, which was the lowest in the series. They had been averaging about 17 to 18 points off turnovers throughout the series, so that was a big get for them. And I mean, Boston lost the game like 3 or 4 different times, and I mean,
they should have won the game 3 or 4 different times too. So
right.
So
I mean,
out.
Smart missed the free throw, Brown missed the free throw to kind of ice it. I think they would have been up 4 with the Brown free throw, and then they would have been up 3, which would have made that Butler 3 a tie instead of going up 1. And then the Horford foul was horrible. And if you remember before when Jimmy hit the 3, after that on the screen and roll, both guys go with the screener for no reason and leave Jimmy like a line drive to the basket and he gets an and-1. So, like,
not to mention the Robinson missed wide open 3 in transition. I already mentioned the offensive rebound off the free throw. Yeah. Boston really does just a bad job at the little things, especially in crunch time.
Yeah, so I thought that was more just like lapses, but I saw them fight back when Miami went on that run late, and I mean, I like to see that whenever they responded. I mean, Derrick White hit a 3. They weren't settling for threes. They did shoot. I mean, they shot 35, and some of those bad shots. But in like the possessions that they needed to get a basket, they were going to the right. You mentioned Marcus Smart's and 1. I think Jaylen Brown got a putback. They got a steal off of. I want to say it was a Gabe Vincent kick out at Jaylen Brown stole. He got and 1. So they were constantly attacking, which I like to see, and not settling for jump shots. But overall, I think Boston just they struggle putting the game away. And I don't know if that's going to come back to haunt them in this series, but going forward, I think that's something they got to fix. Outside of that, man, great game. I thought that, Jimmy Bam, they just didn't have it. Most of that was due to the defense that they were playing as far as Boston, but they had a chance to win it. That Boston was trying to give it away to them. They didn't do it, but that's why we're at Game 7.
Yeah, I do want to address one thing quickly, just for a second, Munaf.
Yeah, go ahead.
I acknowledge that Missoula has made a couple of small adjustments in there, but I feel like the main issues that we've had with Missoula, which is why I'm still kind of criticizing them despite coming back from 3-0 down, the issues are still there. This team still puts Tatum on the bench to start the fourth quarter, and they always give up a run to start the fourth quarter every time. It never stops. They just keep putting Tatum on the bench, and Miami goes on a run. And then, once again, they can't solve a zone defense late in games. And I don't know how many times until the coach makes an adjustment, or maybe it's only the players, which I doubt, they're playing like the four corners offense in the final 5 minutes of every game. They're just trying to stall the clock out, and they can't score late in games. I know that the players need to do a better job of executing, but for the entire season, it looks like Boston has no game plan or whatever works. You mentioned Marcus Smart in the post. That when was the last time they did a post up for Marcus Smart in the post? Second quarter?
Yeah.
They just went away with it.
I think it was early on in the first half,
it worked, and they never used it again. I feel like Boston has that issue all the time. They find some wrinkle that works, and then they just forget about it. They just go away from it. They never use it again. But I got to keep criticizing Missoula to some degree because even though they won, they can't stop blowing leads.
Yeah.
It's the third game in the series they've blown a double-digit lead. Like, I got to criticize the coaching because I know that you can say he's made some adjustments here and there, and I will give him credit for keeping the team mentally engaged in the series after they punted Game 3. I will give him credit for that. But from an X's and O's perspective, late in games, he's an abysmal fourth-quarter coach.
Yeah, but I mean, they had the same problem with Udoka too, which is why they didn't win the ring.
I wasn't a big Udoka guy either, but
yeah,
Udoka
but I mean,
got to the final.
He's more he's more widely respected as a quote unquote good coach than Missoula is, but they had the same exact problems all year long. I mean, they didn't come on until the end of the All-Star break for the power rating kind of shot up. So
they lost to the Knicks on that Barrett buzzer beater, and then after that, the Celtics went nuts.
Right, and I think that has a lot to do with the players' mentality. Coaches do have a lot to do with it, but for that to be continuing, a reoccurring theme from coach to coach, I mean, that's something that's in that team's DNA. I don't know who can get it out of them, but I mean, Missoula is doing a better job, I guess, now since they've been on this little 3-game winning streak. But Yeah, I think it's kind of overblown. I thought he got too much of the blame. I think he's probably getting too much credit right now. I mean,
I still
I'm
blame
kind
the
of
players for most of what
yeah,
happened in general, because I do think the players are going to have to make the plays no matter what. The coach can only get you so far, and Spoelstra's proven that on the other end, because I don't know what else Spoelstra's trying to do when his two best players can't hit a shot for 3.5 quarters. But
yeah.
the, yeah,
If the roles were reversed, and that was Tatum and Brown that couldn't hit a shot, everybody would be blaming Missoula, not Tatum and Brown. You get what I'm saying?
correct. So
But
I
that's
was
just the respect that Eric Spoelstra has as a coach.
I was blaming the players a lot for the Philly series because I wasn't sure what Missoula was supposed to do when Tatum was really no showing some fourth quarters and they just ended up losing a couple of games they should have won. But that doesn't change the fact that it does feel like Missoula, even though once again X's and O's, maybe in the first half he makes some adjustments or maybe something works. But in the fourth quarter, it's the same stall tactic offense we've seen for 5 months, and it doesn't work. There's
Yeah, I
been
agree.
no changes whatsoever in any game planning. And even with the timeout, I don't know what the game plan was. I don't know what the play call was. I can guarantee you it was not Marcus Smart chucking up a fadeaway 30-footer. So the play
Yeah.
probably didn't work. So I'm
Well,
just saying, like,
what they
I
said
do
was
think. Wait, I'll let you make your
no,
point.
well. So in the presser, Spoelstra said the original defense was to not let, of course, not let Tatum get the ball.
Yeah.
So if you notice, Stroops is playing. He's not playing that. He's not playing white. Like he's guarding. He's essentially
free
guarding
safety.
the actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's guarding the actions, playing safety. Yeah. So when Tatum is coming out to get the ball at the top of the key, he slides in and cuts that off. So I guess that was the first read. Now this is how Spoelstra's reading it, not what Missoula drew up. But he was saying that was originally the first read. And then if you watch and see Jalen come off a pin down, that was the second read. That wasn't there. So Smart was actually the third read, and he said, quote from him was saying that he shot the ball that soon because you remember, I forgot what game he hit the game winner, but it was too late.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was the Philly game. That was game 4.
yeah. So he was saying he didn't want that to happen again, so he wanted to go ahead and get the shot off, and whatever happens. He almost ends up hitting it, but I thought that you can't really tell what the play actually was. I'm just going off of what
Yeah, because
Spoelstra
Miami
said.
blew it up. I'm just saying the
Yeah.
idea was to get Tatum the ball, but if you look at
Yeah.
what the actual action was, it was just a simple screen for Tatum on the wing. Like it seemed like a pretty simplistic defensive coverage to stop it. It didn't really seem like it was that complicated of a
Yeah,
play.
that's fair.
But
That's fair.
once again, good for Boston. They won the game. We got a game 7, but I got to at least leave some of the criticism out here. Or it bothers me how Missoula now has gone from completely bad coach to genius coach, according to some social media people,
Yeah, I don't
solely
agree
because
with
we're
that
at
at
game
all.
7 right now.
Yeah, no,
And once again, the same issues have been there the entire season. And whether it's the players or the coaches, Missoula does look like he kind of freezes with his team in late game situations. Do we agree on that?
I agree.
Well, yeah. They say Jalen in the TNT interview was saying that he's poised and he gives them confidence and he's always calm. So I mean, I don't know, maybe they believe in him a little bit more than they did a week ago.
I will say this: no matter what happens in Game 7, I think Missoula did enough to save his job.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, when you're down in a 3-0 deficit and you come all the way back to at least force a game 7, depending on what the result is,
I think even if they lost yesterday, he would have kept his job.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. All right, guys, before we get into the game 7 betting picks here, let me tell everyone about Shady Rays. Shady Rays is teaming up with SGPN for Shady May. And not only do you get an amazing 50% off, but you also have a chance to win $500. Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. If you lose or break your pair, even on day 1, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. If you don't love them, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. And for our international listeners, Shady Rays has you covered as well with shipping to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. So go to shadyrays.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. And remember, May is almost over, so make sure to take your receipt to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win $500 in the Shady May contest. All right, guys, game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals goes off on Monday night. And as of right now, the lines are currently sitting in favor of The home team, the Boston Celtics, are a 7.5-point home favorite. Total is at 203.5.
A lot of movement on both
yeah.
sides and the total.
Yeah, 100%. I think it opened up around 208 for the total, if I'm not mistaken, 208.5.
I saw 208 was like a BS teaser line.
Okay.
Like that's where it opened, and like one bet came in and immediately plummeted. I think it mostly opened up market wide at like 206.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 206.5 on
okay.
open.
All right. So obviously money is coming in on the under. Traditionally, we've seen game sevens go towards the under.
And the spread. It was 9 initially.
Yeah, 9. I think I saw an 8.5, and I think I saw a 9 as well. I think it was on FanDuel, if I'm not mistaken. That opened up at 9. But here we are. I don't want to say that we can forget about what's happened in the first 6 games because the momentum is on the Boston Celtics side here, but it just comes down to now 48 minutes. You win, you go to the NBA Finals to play the Denver Nuggets. Delonte, lead us off. We'll start with the spread here, -7.5 in favor of the Boston Celtics. Which way are you going with the spread?
Yeah, man, I'm on Boston. They won me my money back from getting throttled in the first 3 games, so I got to come out on top with the Celtics here.
Wait, did they make you money in Game 6? Did you have the money line or the spread?
Yeah, well, I came out a little bit on the positive side. I played more on the money line than I did the -3.
Okay, I'm just making sure here. Okay, cool.
Yeah, slight positive gain right there. Boston's 5-1 in Game 7s with Jason and Jalen. So they've been in one last series. We saw Tatum put up 51. I thought they did some good things, especially with defensively. I mean, what they've done defensively has just been more impressive. And I thought that the whole time, the reason why they've been struggling, not because of their offense, it was just strictly because of their defense. They basically have held. Let me see. Let me get the number right so I can make sure that we're doing this right. So they started off 0-3 in the first 3 games. Miami was 1.25 points per possession.
They're averaging 120 plus points per game.
Right. In the last 3 games, they're averaging. They've only scored about over 1 points per possession in game 3. That's the only game that they scored over 1 points per possession. So the defense is there. They're locked in. I feel like they'll shoot better at home. They'll get Brogdon back. I'm assuming. Has anybody heard anything about Brogdon?
So latest I saw, Brogdon is questionable, and then also Gabe Vincent is questionable. So
Right.
I was not shocked to see Brogdon sit in Game 6. Maybe he does go in Game 7, but this injury that they are talking about sounds. I mean, it's pretty serious for a.
It sounds like a surgery type of injury.
Yeah, for
Right.
surgery,
I think
especially for a
that's
basketball player, because I think it's a shooting arm.
Yeah, I think that was what was affecting his shot, which is but I mean, if he plays, I think he gives them just a little bit more respectable. I don't know if he can make a ton of shots, but all he has to do is make a few to be respectable. Defensively, I think he'll be an upgrade to give some of those other guys rest. Boston shot the ball better from deep as well as defend the 3 well. The pick and roll switches, like we mentioned, it has been an issue. They've been bad on that, running into each other, giving wide open looks. They got to limit the wide open looks from 3 because Vincent, Strus, and Martin are all going to make you pay. They shot 37. Boston shot 37.6% from 3 this season and 37.8% at home. So far in the series, they're shooting 34% from deep at home. And Miami's shooting 42% on the road. So I'm guessing that has to balance out some way or another. And with the intensity that Boston's playing with defensively, I think they'll do that. Another thing that's probably on Miami's side that I was looking into was home court. So Matt Moore, I forgot his Twitter handle, but he's on Athletic. He tweeted out since 2003, home teams are 44-21 straight up in game 7s. And if you want to, simple it up into a smaller sample size, because the game's changed from 2003. So home teams in the last 3 years, they're 3-5 straight up in game 7s. So home court doesn't mean as much as it used to. I think in this case, with how Miami lost, I'm not sure if they'll be able to rebound and pick it up to beat Boston. So I like Boston a lot.
Scott.
For me, I'm taking Miami. I tweeted out as soon as the line opened, if you take Boston -9, you're a psychopath. Because I don't know how the hell you're supposed to take -9 after what just happened in Game 6. The argument that most people have for Boston, and this would be the argument of why people would have taken the 9 or the 7.5, Miami's going to roll over and die because they were half a second away from making it to the NBA Finals. They're blowing a 3-0 lead. They don't have much talent, and Boston's going to bury them. I don't trust this Boston team. Just simply put. The series itself has played out the exact way that I thought it would if you hit the randomizer button on the games. If you ignore the 3-0 start and the 3-0 comeback, I said Boston and Miami were going to 7. Miami was going to be the much better coach team. They were going to win the close games, but Boston laps them on paper in terms of talent, and it would balance out, and Boston would probably win in 7 because talent would reign supreme. That's exactly what's happened in this series. Now, I'm taking Miami because Boston, no matter how many times they're up double digits, they're going to blow it. They're going to blow it. It's going to be a one-possession game, and at some point, somebody's going to have to make a shot for Boston down the stretch, and I don't trust anybody to do it. So I'm on Miami. I personally like it at a +8. I took the 8. I'm not surprised more money's coming in on Miami. But you're looking at the games Boston has won in the series, and they blew them out in Game 4. Nice win there. Game 5, they were winning the entire game, almost blew the cover, and then Hauser hit a 35-footer in the final minute to clinch the cover, and then you had whatever that was yesterday. But I guess my question is for you, can you really lay 3 possessions with a team when it's probably going to be race to 100 in this game wins since the total is 203.5? So you're expecting a rock fight, and one team can't close. I'm not laying 3 possessions with a team that cannot close games with a double-digit lead. I think Miami finds a way. I'm taking the Heat.
Yeah, I like the Heat on the spread here as well. Again, it's a lot of points here. And again, like Scott mentioned, it's going to be a rock fight. I think that Jimmy Butler has to be better and will be better. I think he found something in those final couple minutes there.
Yeah, he kept going to the rim.
Yeah, the biggest. He was going to the rim as well during the game, but he just wasn't able to knock them down. I think they were like 9 of 40 or 9 of 41 inside the paint.
He missed a couple as well. He started flailing more into the contact to get to the foul line because he knew he couldn't hit a layup, and it was working out.
They shot 30%. They shot 30% on twos.
Yeah, it's not good.
16 and 52 in the paint.
Yeah, so you should see some positive regression there for the Miami Heat. But again, you got to give a lot of credit to the interior defense for the Boston Celtics for what they were able to do in Game 6, especially with Robert Williams and Al Horford, who had that big block shot against Bam. But not sure what you're going to get out of Bam, but I think Jimmy Butler definitely will find, or he will be good in Game 7. And it's just a big question mark after that, who's going to step up. I know Caleb Martin has been very consistent. Gabe Vincent, I know he's dealing with an ankle injury, so that might be hindering his performance a little bit. But
I thought he was okay in Game 6. Yeah, the efficiency wasn't there, but he was fine. Robinson was pretty good for the most part.
Vincent was fine. I thought Vincent was fine.
So I think they're going to have somebody, just step up and again provide that scoring power. But I think Bam just has to be better in Game 7 if he wants Miami to win the game here. But again, definitely shop around. I think consensus right now is 7.5. You may be able to find a rogue 8 out there somewhere, but I am on the Miami Heat on the spread here as well. Scott, you're fully expecting Boston to win this game, right? Because you do have Boston in 7.
For me, I'm still going with Boston. I do think they're going to find a way. It kind of reminds me exactly of what I think happened last year, which is Miami with a one-possession game, shot to maybe win the series, and they miss. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I think Boston sneaks it out. Yeah. But I will say this, and I said this on my YouTube video this morning where I took the Heat +8. If Miami wins this game and they pull it off, they win Game 7 on the road, I will be significantly less surprised than most of the other people who follow basketball. Because I know what Boston is capable of in terms of punting this golden opportunity. And even though you can really be annoyed by the empty promises of Butler and Spoelstra saying we're going to win this game, we want to play Game 7 right now, all the stuff you're supposed to say after losing.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to come out and say, oh, we're going to lose? I mean, come on.
But the thing is, though, you're looking at those two guys and you're like, you know what? I think you can hang in there. Once again, you don't have to win. You just have to not get buried. I think Miami can hang around. I think they're going to lose the game. But if they pull it off, I will not be totally shocked because, once again, Boston is this bad in late games. And it was shocking Miami almost won Game 6.
Miami has to get off to a good start if they want a chance in this game because in all 3 last games, I think they've been trailing by almost double digits. They should just
get down 10 points early, actually, because that's how they win, and then they channel their powers afterwards. They give themselves more time to come back,
Yeah,
I think they could get blitzed, though.
Well, I know where you're. We know you're all over Boston. So.
It comes down to the supporting pass. I understand the points. Miami can't score. It's simple as that. They were shooting lights out from three for the first 3 games in the series, and I know that I picked Miami anyway. Vincent has been an X factor for this team. I can't even call Martin an X factor anymore because he's arguably the 3rd best player in the entire series. Like, I don't even know how to describe what's going on with Martin right now. So he's not even an X factor anymore. He's just the second best player on the team at this point in time. Yeah. Vincent's the main X factor for Miami because we saw how bad they looked offensively in Game 5 without him. Even his presence just means a lot for spacing purposes. And Robinson missed a couple of late shots. Hopefully that doesn't linger over in Game 7. I get the argument. The argument is Miami can't score. I get it. But once again, in a rock fight game with a total of 203.5, I'm assuming we're all leaning to the under because it's a Game 7. So I'm assuming we're going to lean to the under. That means each individual point is more valuable on the spread because you're expecting fewer points in the game. So in a rock fight, I'm taking 3 possessions. I'm taking Miami.
Yeah, it could end up like what happened with. It could end up like what happened with Boston and Philly. It could be competitive at first.
You think Boston just flattens them?
Yeah. Well, I think it could be good for 2.5, 3 quarters, and then they pull away. Just similar to what we saw with Philadelphia, because that was pretty close starting off, right? And then Boston just kind of hit their shots and pulled away.
Philly scored what, like 7 points, 9 points
in the entire
third quarter?
What was the score at half? Only like 6 or 7.
Boston was up 4, I think, at halftime. They went on a run there to go up 4, and then Philly scored like 7 points in the 8 points in the entire third quarter.
Yeah, so I was basically just saying that because of the low total, and that total was, I think, lower than this, if I'm not mistaken, because we both.
It was 202, I think, or it was 202 or 20. Yeah, it went under by a hook.
Yeah, so similar like games, like game style and pace. I think that Boston can still get margin while also playing good defense. I guess that would be my rebuttal to what you guys are saying. But I mean, I'm not opposed to anybody taking Miami. I don't think you guys are idiots or anything. So.
And you're also assuming Boston's not going to shoot 7 of 35 from 3. Like, you can argue regression or positive regression is going to apply to both teams because Bam and Butler can't be that bad from the floor again. On the other hand, somebody besides White and Smart's going to hit a 3-pointer. Yeah, so and that's what it's going to balance out. Right. But I just think that these teams are – it's just funny how everything has kind of worked out the way that I thought in terms of what I thought we would see over the 6-game span of talent versus coaching, and how Miami can find ways that don't even make quantifiable sense of making games competitive. I see that happening here. I just think they find a way to hang around. Boston opens up a lead. You look up with 6 minutes to go. Boston's up 9. And you're like, all right, game's over. And then it's a 1-possession game with a minute to go. That's kind of how I see it going. But do you see it the same way, Munaf?
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to come down to those final couple minutes. I think something similar to what we saw in Game 6. I really do think it's going to be a great game. But for me, I think Miami just has to get off to a good start. They've been trailing, like I mentioned, within the first quarter in the last, I think, 3 games where they've gotten down at least multiple possessions for sure. So I think we're all in agreement about the total. So I don't want to expand too much on it. Do you guys have anything else for the total? Delonte, anything else for the total?
I'm assuming he's all over Miami team total under.
Nah, see, I don't want to put too much on the game flow. And then because if it goes the wrong way, like if both teams come out and they're like scorching, then I could get like buried, even if I like the Celtics, because all it takes is, a big quarter from 3 for both of these teams, and we saw it in Game 1 where they were just hitting everything both sides. Miami shot 40+% from deep 4 times in the playoffs, and 3 of those came in this series. So what are the odds of them doing it, a second time or coming close to 40 again? I mean, I'm worried that they might just, like, Jimmy's leg looked gone. Like, he didn't have lift at all. I know some Miami Heat beat reporters were saying it didn't look like he had a lot of the lift to finish at the rim, and some of his shots were falling short. So I'm worried that some of those guys in a big game like this, I mean, Strus, Vincent, did those guys play in the Game 7 last year?
I would have to look it up. I
don't think they did. So I mean, this is like a high intense.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Did Strus and Vincent play in the Game 7 last year against Boston?
Oh,
I don't remember them playing a lot.
Strus, I believe, did. I don't believe Vincent.
Because I remember Oladipo playing, and Hero was there,
starting back then. Like, Strus had to have played in Game 7. Like, I
think
don't
he's probably
Vincent
coming
did,
off the bench.
Yeah.
I don't know, because Strus had a couple of big
my,
three-pointer games earlier in that series.
Yeah, well, essentially, my thing is they're playing a bigger role now. They're more relied on now than they were in that game 7. So, I mean, what are the odds of those guys? Even Caleb Martin, I mean, he wasn't there last year. So, what are the odds of those guys, coming out being a little bit tight? And all it takes is just a little bit margin of error for Boston to blow it open. I mean, those guys are going to be like amped up. They got all the momentum in the world. They're playing at home in front of one of the better home courts all year and in the NBA history. So, I mean, they can't make it a close game because if it's close in the end, I think Miami's going to win. So they got to keep it out of that, 4 or 5 point range with 5 minutes to go. Because
by the way,
I
pulled it up for Game 7 last year. I was right about Strus. He started. He played 35 minutes. Vincent played 15 minutes off the bench.
Okay. And what did Strus perform well?
No. He was +4 and plus minus, but he had 8 points, 8 rebounds, 3 of 10 shooting, 2 of 7 from 3.
Okay, that's what I thought so.
All right, let's get over to player props here, guys. Scott, lead us off player props. What are you looking at?
I'm on Butler over for points. I thought about triple-double because even though he couldn't shoot to save his life last game, he still almost had a triple-double. The problem I have with that is I, once again, am skeptical of how many of Miami supporting cast members actually show up for this game. But Butler in Game 7 last year, do you want to guess how many minutes he played?
Last year, Game 7, all 48.
That is correct. He played all 48 minutes.
He had to.
And
even,
even with a bad shooting game in Game 6, he still finished with 24 points because he went to the line 14 times. So I'm on Butler.
He played 47 minutes yesterday, right?
He played like 47 or 46. I got to be on Butler overs. You can argue about injury or maybe that he's battling something or he's like coming off the floor. Simply put, he's going to play every minute of this game. And with Boston, I'd say paint defense, which was really good in Game 6, but also let Butler get a lot of blow-bys in the final minute or two of regulation. Maybe Butler found something. Like, well, we're going to find out, but Butler hit a three-pointer. You saw one go through the hoop. Maybe that'll help him out. But 28.5 seems a bit high for a guy that has been struggling a bit lately with his actual efficiency. But when you look at the volume he's supposed to get, he's going to take 20-something shots in this game.
Yeah,
probably
100%.
more, not to mention double-digit free throws. Miami has to play through him every time, and Boston refuses to double him because, once again, I guess the argument is we're just going to let Jimmy tire himself out. We'll keep an eye on everybody else, and we'll see what happens from there. And since they keep winning, they're not going to change their game plan. I'm on Butler over. I think he's going to shoot the ball so many times, he's going to have to go over 28.5.
Yeah.
I'm on his over. I thought about maybe triple-double, but the assists really scare me there because Butler might just look at his teammates and go, I'm going to do this myself. Like, I don't trust any of you guys besides Martin, so I'm going to do it myself. The other prop I'm looking at for Miami, which is going to sound a bit contrarian because he's going to play a bunch of minutes too, I'm on Bam under. I have no faith in Bam scoring in Game 7 at all.
What is it?
It's at like 16.5.
16.5.
Like 16.5, 17.5. Horford's owned him, just simply put. He went, 4 of 16 last game?
Yeah, I think so. Something
that
block wasn't even close.
That block by Horford was crazy.
Horford has absolutely destroyed him in the last 3 games of the series. And from what I've seen from Bam in the past, I know he had a triple-double in that Milwaukee closeout game, but historically speaking, in big games, I've wanted to see more from Bam. Let's put it that way. I think he's going to struggle, and I think that as a result, he's going to go under. I like the over for rebounds, though, for Butler and for Bam. I think it's going to be a rock fight.
Yeah.
So if you're going by volume, I'll take the over on rebounds for Bam, Butler, probably Martin, too, because he had 15 rebounds in the last game. But I'm expecting a rock fight. So I'm on the over for Butler, and I'm on a lot of unders. I'm on the Horford under for Boston. He's going to spend so much energy on defense, he's never going to shoot the ball. So I can definitely see him having a good defensive game once again. Tatum rebounds I'm going to be on. Points I'm probably going to stay away from Tatum because I do think Miami's got to throw something at him because they can't keep letting him walk into 30. They're going to have to force somebody else to make some shots. Derrick White over, probably on threes. Can I see Grant Williams having a Game 7? Maybe, but I don't really know. The point is there's a lot of players who I'm kind of on the fence about, but I'm on the over for Butler solely because of volume, and I like the over for rebounds for a lot of players because I'm expecting a really ugly basketball game.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at a lot of points props in this game. I was really looking at either steals and blocks, defensive props, and then rebounding props. So You mentioned the Bam one. That's at 9.5. I would probably ladder that up to around 13 for Bam. Jimmy Butler. Those are the two guys that are going to play a minimum, I think, 45, 46 minutes. Like, I'm not going to be shocked if Jimmy plays all 48 minutes like he did last year. He played 47 in game 6, so I don't
And
think
Bam
he's
had
going to be
what,
coming
like
off the
one
floor.
foul in the entire game 6?
I think so. So he finished up with, I think, he had 13 rebounds last night.
He had 11.
Bam.
He had like 11 and
13.
13 on 4 of 16 shooting, but he had 13 rebounds.
Yeah, he didn't have any fouls last night, did Bam.
Damn.
Yeah, so, and then Gabe Vincent played 41 minutes, Caleb Martin played 41, and then Jimmy Butler played 47. So at least for Jimmy Butler and Bam, I'm looking at their overs on their rebounds. Jimmy Butler, if you don't want to go the triple-double, double-double is around plus 160. I can get behind that. I think they're going to have to do it. Again, I mentioned this when we talked about game 6, that they're going to have to do a good job of rebounding. And I think this is going to be one of those games where, again, we're expecting Rock 5. The total is low for a reason. I'm on those two guys. Derrick White, I agree about the 3-point shots there, Scott, but I'm also going to be looking at his steals and blocks to go over 2.5. That's at plus 150. I think he's gone over this projection, I think, in 4 of the 6 games, or in the 5 out of the 6 games in this series thus far.
I didn't realize he had 3 blocks last game.
Yeah, so he's really been filling it up on the defensive side. So, again, if we're expecting a defensive effort or defensive game here, you're going to see those turnovers. You're creating turnovers with steals or blocks and just high-intensity defense. I think those were the 3 guys that I was looking at. Maybe Al Horford blocks as well. He did play 32 minutes last night. He did have 2 blocks. But, yeah, those were the ones that I was looking at. Delonte, what do you got for player props?
Yeah, so similar to what we're saying, I'm on a lot of unders. I won't give them all out, but basically, I want every role player for the Heat to go under, like except for Strus. So Martin under his points, Lowry under points, rebounds, and assists, Bam under points, and who else is the other one that plays?
Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of iffy on Robinson because I think that he just is a bad matchup for Boston for whatever reason. So their main thing is, I mean, the scouting report on Duncan Robinson obviously is to run him off.
It's because their defensive communication sucks.
Right.
So he just comes around screens and he's wide open.
And he's beating them back doors. So I'm confused. So I'll probably stay away from Robinson and Strus. I like Strus over 10.5 points. He's only over in 2 games in the series, but he's landed 10 in both games, including last game where he finished with 10. He shot well from deep on the road. He's 6 of 14 from deep on the road. I think that Vincent, while he looked better he looked good offensively, defensively is where they were attacking him. They were constantly putting him in pick and rolls. He was the guy that Smart was posting up to run action on the hill. They were testing the ankle out pretty good. So I think Strus has to knock down a bunch of shots. I'm glad that we brought up the game 7 from last year, knowing that he's been in that big of a game, so he'll be able to at least play with a little bit more poise, especially not having success. So I like him over 10.5 points. For the Celtics, I'm on a couple of their unders too. I'll be playing if Brogdon plays, I'll be on his unders. I'll be on Jaylen Brown unders. On Moochie Scott. I finally seen the light. I'm on Jaylen Brown unders. Although I bet him
really, he was actually good last game.
Right, and I bet him under. That's why I bet him under last night. That's why. So I'm on his under. I'll be on Derrick White unders. The only 2 guys I'm going over on is I'm going all over with Tatum over 35. You can get some plus money on that. He's averaging 28, 9, and 5 in game 7, including 51 last game 7. He scored 26, 10, and 6 in the last game 7 last year against Miami. He was 4 of 7 from deep. I think he's going to be involved a lot. I think they're going to have the ball in his hands a ton. I also love Robert Williams over 12.5 points, rebounds. He's over in 4 of the 6 games. He's played less than 20 minutes in 3 of those games. So that just goes to show you his activity and usage is off the charts right now when he gets in. So he's making more of those chances. His defense is, turned up a notch since he's been back with the starting lineup. Well, he hasn't been starting, but he's been playing with the stars, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So he's been relentless on the glass. So I think that motor will thrive to get him over 12.5 points. So I know that's a lot.
I do want to ask, though, about Duncan, because I know that he has done very well in the series, at least better than I thought he was going to. He missed the 2 biggest shots of the series, arguably of his career. Do you think he actually shows up for Game 7, or do you think he's mentally fried?
No, I think shoot or shoot.
Yeah,
That's
what
my
I was about to
mentality.
say.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
he's going to
he
shoot.
gotta
I just don't think they're going to go in. I'm not on Duncan Robinson in Game 7. I think he's going to have an abysmal game, to be honest.
I think this has to be the Max Strus game. Like if they like,
somebody's
Miami
going to have to
wants-
step up. I've roasted
Yeah.
half the team, and I'm still picking Miami to cover. So
this might be
but
the
they-
random Kyle Lowry. What he had like? Was it the play-in tournament game? He had like 30+ points. Or was that in the
he had
first
30
round?
against Atlanta when I took the under like 6.5, which
Yeah.
was just an all-time performance from Lowry. But I can see Lowry having some random 12-point game or something dumb. Strus hits a couple of threes. Martin goes crazy again. The issue with Robinson's also fouls. He had 5 fouls last game in 20 minutes.
And they pick him on the defensive side too.
Yeah, he's getting hunted every position.
The thing is, though, can you pick on him that easily if you're playing zone? I'm assuming Miami's going to play, what, like 50% zone in this game? Boston can't solve the thing.
Well, in game 6, game 6, last game, he didn't go to the zone until the end. And,
no, I know. I'm saying they're going to sprinkle it in more, right? They kind of have to.
Yeah.
Probably been working on some stuff on the zone. I guess it's kind of.
I thought that in the first 6 games of the series.
Yeah,
Missoula's making adjustments.
Well, look, so Kevin O'Connor, he tweeted out some stats from Second Spectrum that their effective field goal percentage and effective field goal percentage for the zone and man-to-man went up since the last 3 games. So the first 3 games, it was pretty bad, and then it rose up. I don't have the exact number. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but you can tell that they've had more success in the past 3 games than they did, obviously, the first time, which shows he's doing a little something better. Maybe
is that because of play calling, or is that because the Celtics couldn't hit a shot for the first 3 games of the series? I think it's a mixed bag. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe a combination of both. But I mean,
all I know is after Miami went on a massive run in Game 6, and Boston made 1 shot, which was the buzzer beater in the last 5 minutes against the zone. I'm assuming Miami's going to play zone for at least a quarter cumulatively. They have to play zone. They once again, they're kind of out of moves. You look at Miami's roster. Is it a good roster? No. But the zone's been giving Boston problems, and they have to make the game ugly. The zone makes the game ugly. I think they have to play zone.
I'm not counting out Spo to run out of any kind of moves. His presser, he was like, they're ready to play right now. He was ready to go.
No. I meant moves as in like roster moves. Like I don't mean the strategy. I mean the roster.
Yeah. My thing is, do you think that they play 7 guys? So do you think that they don't have the legs to get those shots up to fall? That's my main. That's really one of the main pillars of why I like Boston so much, because I think that their guys are more built to make these tough shots or contested shots, whereas a lot of Miami stuff has been wide open, and those guys have been hot for so long. You think they have sorry, Munaf, but a Houston Rockets-esque kind of game where they, go, 6-4, 27, 7-4, 33.
It's definitely possible, but once again, I don't really have faith in Boston to run away with any game at this point. But I will point out, even though we talked about or at least I've mentioned how limited Miami's roster is, one of their main healthy guys, and Kevin Love, just did not see the floor at all because they know he can't guard anybody. Do you think he needs to play 10 minutes just to give some other guys a breather?
Yeah, he does. He gets a shot.
They need to get Highsmith out there.
I can't believe Highsmith didn't play a minute in Game 6. I don't know why he didn't play a minute. He even made a 3-pointer in Game 5. He made a 3 in the corner. I was shocked. He made a 3-pointer.
Yeah. I thought he played well in Game 5.
Yeah, Game 6, Tatum, Horford, and Jaylen Brown were combined 0 for 14 from 3-point land.
It's not
happening. Horford part was 0 for 2, so it was mostly
so
Tatum.
mostly it was the 2 star players, Brown and Tatum. All right, guys, let's close it out strong here for Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's get into our lock and dog. Delonte, why don't you lead us off, man? What do you got for your lock and dog?
Man, so when I seen you sent out a tweet, I responded to it, told you to tell Sean and Ryan to just put my whole invoice on the Boston minus 7.5. Go ahead. I'm going to put it on the 7.5, man.
I thought you meant the money line when you initially tweeted that.
No. I want the 7.5, man. I got it. Listen, I think it's a great situation for Boston and those guys. I think the confidence is there. I think that's a brutal way to lose a game. I haven't seen anything like that since probably the Ray Allen shot, and that was to send it into overtime, and then they won.
The Ron Artest put back against the Suns.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That too.
That wasn't with a shot to go to the NBA finals, like
Yeah, that's
right
true
there
too.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
but
really want to
and
talk about, it's
the Heat
probably
stuff
like
was in the finals, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what to even compare it to. Like I can't compare it to the Robert Ory shot.
John Stockton, 1997, when he hit that three against the Rockets to send them to
Jordan
the NBA
Cross and
Finals.
Russell, but there was still time left on the clock.
Yeah,
You can make an
maybe.
argument that that's like the most heartbreaking loss of all time.
Right. I
And
mean,
you can
because
make the argument, it's really
you can
bad.
see the arena, like everybody's jacked up. And even after I mean, I watch a lot of the TNT broadcasts, like some of those fans were still there, like in the arena, like it was still
Yeah,
like they were shocked.
I
Like
would have still been there.
right, and
Yo,
I
they're still
seen
they're going to be there for Game 3 of the NBA Finals. That's what they're still there for.
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah,
No, I
so
thought you were going to say they were there for the watch party in Game 1 when they have to travel to
Oh
Denver.
yeah, that too.
You know.
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, man, I think Boston's gonna get it done here. Behind the big performance from Tatum, he performs big in these games. He got off the hook. He didn't perform well in the second half at all, and I mean, not many people are going to talk about it, obviously, because they won. But he wasn't good in the second half, and like Scott said, I think both of us have been behind the. You cannot sit Tatum in the fourth quarter to start the fourth quarter because
Oh, he's
that's when
going
Miami.
to. Get excited. He's going to.
I'm sorry. I'm going to Tatum and telling him, look, you got to play all 48. Sorry, what
Why
is it,
telling
24?
Tatum? It's Missoula.
Yeah, it's
Don't
almost
imagine
No.
Tatum.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling. Well, somebody's got to tell him, like, look, bro, you playing all 48. I'm sorry. I don't care what's going on. You got to play all 48. And so I like Boston a lot, -7.5. For the dog, I'm going to go with. So I'm going with a couple of player matchups. These are on DraftKings. I'm not sure if they're listed anywhere else yet, so just be sure to shop around. Don't just go off numbers that I got. So I'm going with Max Strus +210 to score more points than Derrick White. I think that Strus is going to have a bigger impact on the game than White will. I mostly think that the Stars are going to basically carry Boston to a victory. And if it gets out of hand, I think Boston will, rest those guys up. Let's say if they're up 17-18 in the fourth quarter, 4 or 5 minutes to go. I'm pretty sure Missoula might pull them a little sooner than what Spo would. So I like Strus to get a 15, 16 point game. And I think Derrick White has, 12 or 13 point game. And also I like Marcus Smart to score more points than Caleb Martin. You can get +105 on that also. I think Marcus Smart's performed well in Game 7s. He's been shooting it well from deep. And if Brogdon is compromised or if he's out again, the ball's going to be in his hands, initiating offense. So I like Smart +105 over Caleb Martin in points and Strus +210 over Derrick White in points. You can find those at DraftKings.
All right. Scott, what do you got? Lock and dog.
All right. So for my lock, I got a couple. I'm going to go with Miami plus the points. I don't trust Boston enough. Simply put, I just think 3 possessions is way too many in a series where we've seen a clash between talent and coaching. And even though I do think the talent will win out because I had Boston in 7, I do think Spoelstra finds a way to hang around, and I think this game's interesting. I don't see it being a rout. I think this game's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be really ugly. Some of these offensive possessions in the final couple of minutes are going to be disgusting to watch, but I'm going to go with the under for the game as well. I'm not going to say that that's a lock, but I feel pretty good about it. But for the actual side in total, that'll be my lean there for Miami plus the 7.5. My player prop lock's going to be Jimmy Butler over 28.5 points. Simply put, he's going to play every minute of the game, and I think that the volume's going to be insane. That's my favorite lock for the actual play. I like the Heat more at 8. Now it's at 7.5. I don't have the push draw in there, but I think Butler's going to go over. I think he found something in the final couple minutes. Boston let him go one-on-one the entire time. He'll flop his way into free throws, and he'll end up hitting some shots. So I think Butler goes over. My dog was going to be Butler 30-plus points. I thought about maybe an alt line there at a small plus price. But my main dog is going to be a pretty big one, actually. It's going to be Caleb Martin, 10-plus rebounds at plus 320.
Yeah,
he had 15 rebounds last game. He played 41 minutes. Yeah. I said before with Bam kind of no-showing in the last couple games offensively, and even Butler having some bad games, Martin's been arguably their second best player in the entire series. He played 41 minutes in Game 6. Is Caleb Martin about to play 45 minutes in a Game 7? Is that going to happen?
He played 41, didn't he?
Played 41 in Game 6.
Yeah.
I mean, he only played. I mean, they only played 7 guys, and they played Zeller 2 minutes. So I mean,
I'm just asking though, with Martin putting up 20, what do you have? 21 and 15 in Game 6. Are we about to get a 45-minute Caleb Martin game in Game 7?
hey, hear me out before we end this and move up. Hear me out. Caleb Martin is 35-1 to win Eastern Conference MVP.
Stop it.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen. Listen real quick. If Miami wins, so Caleb Martin is 18-5-2 in the series, 18 of 39 from deep, 42 of 72 from the field. He's plus 19 in the series. Jimmy's -2. And I listened to Brian Windhorst's podcast this morning. Tim McMahon, Bontemps, and Windhorst all are voters, of course. And they all said that they were looking to, like, they were obviously, thinking that Miami was going to win. So I think it was Bontemps said he got a text from Doris Burke and was like, well, who you vote for Eastern Conference, final MVP? And they said Caleb Martin. All 4 of them said Caleb Martin. I mean, obviously it's a small sample size of the vote, but that just goes to show you what they're thinking. I mean, if he has a big game, like you say, if he plays 45 minutes, has 28, 29 points, Butler is, so 25, 5-5 or whatever. I mean, it's a shot. It's a shot in the dark.
It's a shot, but the way that I look at it, if Miami's going to win this game, Butler's going for 30 or 35. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think Butler has to play well if Miami's going to win. But it's 35-1. I get your point.
I think it's worth a shot.
A flyer, maybe, but it's not worth a shot for you because you're taking Boston to win the game anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but like I still would put like, $50-$60 on it. Just
I get it, but to go back to my point, Martin for 10 plus rebounds at plus 320 when he just had 15, and once again, he's going to play north of 40 minutes. He might play 45. He's been that good in this series. 10 plus rebounds at plus 320. Like, you can make an argument even for some ladder opportunities. I got to see if there's I got to see what the price is on like 12 plus rebounds or 14 plus rebounds. I'm not sure he's going to get there, but 12 plus rebounds is plus 750. Really?
I think you would rather play the double-double at plus 370 if you're going to play the plus 320 at 10 rebounds.
I'd rather take the rebounds. Because I do think a part of me thinks maybe he regresses and he can't hit a shot at all in his first Game 7. So that's kind of the hedge there with what Delonte said. Maybe the role players struggle in the big moment. Maybe Martin struggles, or maybe Boston actually game plans for him. But the rebounds are just effort, and I'm expecting a rock fight. So give me the guy who had 15 rebounds and crashed the glass to get 10 at plus 320.
Okay. I was just looking at, so if you think Miami's going to win this game, you should probably just take Jimmy Butler to win Eastern Conference MVP. That's at plus 290 instead of a plus 265 on the money line. And then, like Delonte was mentioning, play the plus the 25 or 35-1 on the Caleb Martin angle as well.
Once again, I understand the Martin angle. It kind of reminds me of the Raptors title. I don't want to spend that much time because we're over an hour. It reminds me of Van Vliet versus Kawhi for the NBA Finals MVP. Van Vliet had a kid, shot like 98% from 3. He couldn't miss a shot the entire series. And people were arguing like, Van Vliet, he's been good. And so I think one person voted for him. And everyone else is like, no, it's going to Kawhi. It's going to the best player.
Yeah, I agree. All right. For my lock, I'm on Miami as well. Give me the plus 7.5. I think that I do think Boston does win the game, but I think that this will probably be a 3 to 5 point victory for the Boston
by 5.
Celtics.
That was my thought.
So, again, outside of 3 possessions, I'm taking the Boston Celtics. Oh, sorry, the Miami Heat here. Tally stay within the number. Do I think they win outright? Would I be shocked if they did? No. But I do think that Boston, the talent right now it's outdueling the Miami, especially over the last 3 games. So I'll take the Miami Heat plus 7.5. And then for my dog, Derrick White, steals and rebounds. Steals and blocks. I'm sorry. Steals and blocks is at 2.5 at plus 150. I'll take the over on that. 3 out of the last 4 games, he's gone over this projection. In some form or fashion, he's done it. About the last game, Game 6, he had 3 blocks for the Boston Celtics. Prior to that, 2 steals, 1 block, and then in the other game, I think it was 2 steals and a block as well. So he's gone over this projection in throughout the last 4 games. And again, if we're expecting this to be a defensive game here, we're going to see the turnovers, going to see the defensive efforts. I'm going to go with that, and then also do like the I think it was a Caleb Martin rebounds, like you just mentioned as well there, Scott. 10 plus
Plus
that plus
320 is
350.
crazy.
Yeah, you can get plus 350 on FanDuel. I'm sorry,
Okay.
on DraftKings.
Fair enough. I'll
30
definitely
more
have
cents.
that in some type of parlay or something. I do want to ask you, though, if
Yeah.
you do think Miami's got a shot to win the game,
Mhm.
Miami to trail by 10 plus points and win the game, plus 700.
Yeah, you got to sprinkle on it. That's when they play their best basketball, right? Yeah. Okay.
That's the only way they win.
Yep.
Wait, what do you ask? What's Boston?
What is that for
Delonte?
Boston for them to be down 10 and win the game?
That is 5-1.
I might take a shot on that.
I just don't think Boston's going to be trailing by 10 at any point. So,
Yeah.
You never know. It's the Boston Celtics.
that's the point. That's why they get up to a lead and then they choke it.
It would
So
have to be
that's why-
early if they get down. Do the Boston Celtics.
Actually, I take it back. Boston 10 plus and win is plus 430.
Never mind.
Okay. All right. That's going to do it. Leave it to the NBA Gambling Podcast to go 1 hour and 5 minutes on one game for the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. But hey, that's why we are one of the best, if not the best in the business handicapping.
Do we know what
NBA.
the schedule is for next week, by the way? I know that the finals start Thursday. Do we have an idea?
Yeah, so we'll probably recap. Maybe Tuesday we'll come back with a recap and then preview the NBA Finals. And then we'll probably do a Wednesday like a prop show, discussing like player props, series prop bets. And then we'll get into game 1, I think either on Wednesday or we could do it Thursday. But we'll have content leading up to the NBA playoffs. To the NBA Finals game 1, which will be on Thursday, whether that's between the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics or the Miami Heat. So stay tuned. We also do have a prop contest that we're putting out there for the NBA Finals. So it'll be on the SGPN app. We're just ironing out the details. It should be ready to go tomorrow for everybody to sign up, but it'll be exclusively on the SGPN app. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here, buddy?
Not really. Looking forward to Game 7. Hopefully, we have a good game, and hopefully the finals will live up to whatever we just witnessed in the last couple days in the NBA. Tough act to follow from how this Celtics series has gone, but hopefully it turns into a fun finals, regardless of who's in it. Besides that, though, got the tennis podcast French Open. Did my outrights episode yesterday. Going to do the episode for every round. So there will be a lot of tennis episodes for the next couple of weeks. And besides that, yeah, keep them busy. I know NFL is also going to ramp up our coverage. So we're looking forward to the NFL Gambling Podcast. And yeah, find me on Twitter, Reichel Radio.
Yep. Lonte, anything else?
No, man, I got an article coming out tomorrow, Game 7 preview. So I'll be speaking on some of the things that we all talked about and a little bit deeper dive into some of the things that I'm looking forward to things that I'm looking forward to seeing and how I'm projecting the game to go. But that'll be out tomorrow morning, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, man, yeah, looking forward to Game 7 and continuing to try to put out some wins. That's about it.
All right. Before we get out of here, I got to give you guys the the edge boost play of the day for the Game 7. I'm going to go with Bam Adebayo over on his rebounds at 9.5. Again, if we are expecting him to play 45 plus minutes, can't trust him to get the points, but I definitely think that he can get at least 10 rebounds. So over 9.5 right now on DraftKings at minus 125. So again, edge boost, double down, play of the day. Bam Adebayo over 9.5 rebounds for Game 7 of the NBA. For the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
I thought Delonte did that already because he already put his entire invoice on the Celtics minus 7.5.
Oh yeah, there you go. All right, guys, make sure to smash that like button before you guys get out of here. For those of you watching live, if you haven't already, subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast, whether that's on YouTube, that's on Spotify, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, wherever you do listen to your pods. NBA Finals content all throughout the week, so stay tuned in with us. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.